Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. What's the difference between doing something you love and you work late hours and you sacrifice your relationships and you sacrifice your family, but you look at and say, it was hard, but it was worth it, versus losing all those things and all you do is get a Lamborghini at the end, it's like, was it worth it? I'm like, not so sure I do that again, And so I think that's what purpose and cause provide us, is they give us a reason. For the sacrifice, that's what love gives us, because it's the reason for the sacrifice. That's what children do, they give us the reason for the sacrifice. Your life will profoundly change when you have a child. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it easy? No. Every person I've ever talked to who has children say it the most difficult thing they've ever done, and if you ask them if it's worth it, they all say yes. That doesn't go together. I work with the Navy. I've worked with the Navy SEALs, and I asked them, like, how do you pick like the guys that go on SEAL Team 6, right? Because they're the best of the best, the best, and they drew a graph from me, and on one side they wrote the word performance, and on the other side they wrote the word trust. The way they defined the terms is performance on the battlefield and performance off the battlefield. So this is your skills. This is, did you make your quarterly earnings, whatever, however you want to translate it, right? Performance, traditional. This is, how are you off the battlefield? What kind of person are you? The way they put it is, I may trust you with my life, but do I trust you with my money and my wife? SEALs, this is what they told me. Nobody wants this person, the low performer of low trust, of course. Everybody wants this person, the high performer of high trust, of course. What they learned is that this person, the high performer of low trust, is a toxic leader and a toxic team member, and they would rather have a medium performer of high trust, sometimes even a low performer of high trust. It's a relative scale over this person. This is the highest performing organization on the planet, and this person is more important than this person. And the problem in business is we have lopsided metrics. We have 1,000,001 metrics to measure someone's performance and negligible to no metrics to measure someone's trustworthiness. And so what we end up doing is promoting or bonusing toxicity in our businesses, which is bad for the long game because it eventually destroys the whole organization. The irony is it's unbelievably easy to find these people. Go to any team and say who's the and applause. They will all point to the same person equally. If you go to any team and say, who do you trust more than anybody else, who's always got your back, and when the chips are down, they will be there with you, they will also all point to the same person. It's the best gifted natural leader, who's creating an environment for everybody else to succeed. And they may not be your most individual highest performer, but that person, you better keep them on your team. Human brain cannot comprehend the negative. It is incapable. Yes, it's true. I'll give you an example. Okay, no. I'll give you an example. You don't have to believe me. I'll prove it. Okay, the human brain cannot comprehend the negative. You ready? Don't think of an elephant. No, you can't tell the human brain not to do something, right? And so what happens is we very often reinforce things when we put things in the negative, right? I can't get art, right? Or I can't do this versus I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to keep doing this, right? And it's such a huge thing to convert things into the affirmative. You're supposed to do it with children as well. We're supposed to say, instead of saying to children, don't eat on the couch, we're supposed to say eat at the table, right? We tell people what we want them to do, not want them what we don't want to do. Pilots know this, right? It is well known in the pilot community that when you tell a pilot don't hit the obstacle, they'll hit the obstacle because what they're doing is focusing on the obstacle. Skiers know this. If you ever seen skiers go through trees, do you know how they do that? It's very easy. It's actually surprisingly easy. If you go through trees on skis and you go, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, guess what you're watching? You're only looking at trees. All you're doing is seeing trees. You don't understand how anyone can ski with all these trees, right? As opposed to follow the snow. Follow the path. The only thing you see is the path. Skiers know this. If you say don't hit a tree, you'll hit a tree. You won't be able to find a path because all you see is millions of trees. If you say only follow Path, you actually don't see any trees. There's actually very sparse trees. There's plenty of path. There's plenty of snow. It's the same thing for you. If you focus on the obstacles, all you will see is obstacles. If you focus on the path through the trees, all you will see is path through the trees. Your choice, how you choose to perceive your own career, it's literally perspective. The reality is I'm an idiot like, and I'm not being flip about it, like I don't understand very complicated things. And so I ask a lot of questions so that the person who's telling me something complicated, who's talking in terms as if I understand them, finance or neuroscience, I don't know what you're talking about, and I ask enough questions just so that I understand it. So is what you're saying this? No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, what are you so? And when most I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. So a long time ago I had a client. They were a public company, and they brought me on to do some work for them, but they invited me to sit in on a meeting from the consultant that they had hired, and so all the C-level executives and me, and this consultant was giving a presentation about something, and all the C-level executives sitting there nodding and taking notes on the PowerPoint that they had printed up in front of them, and I had it as well, and I didn't understand a freaking word of it, right? I was like looking around like I raised my hand and say, I'm really sorry. I know I'm the only person in this room without an MBA, but this doesn't make sense. Like you say a plus B equals C, but based on your logic, a plus B equal D. Can you just say it again, please? I'm really sorry. To slow the meeting down, everybody, and you could see the consultant getting frustrated with me and would try and explain it again. I said, I'm so sorry, and one by one all the C-level executives said, yeah, I don't understand it either. Now, if the idiot hadn't spoken up and said, I don't understand, they all would have nodded their heads for fear of looking stupid, 'cause they didn't understand, and they would have paid a lot of money for a document they didn't understand, and they would never have used it, would have sat on a shelf. And it's because I'm okay being the idiot, like that's why I'm not being flip. I'm okay, everybody in the room going because I have to ask questions until I understand it. But the reality is, once I can get to the point where I understand it, I can get it so simple that I understand it. I can say it in simple terms that means other people understand it too. Yeah. So there's a lot of value being the idiot. Look, human beings, we can't help ourselves but compare ourselves to others, and a comparison is the deadliest thing we can do to ourselves, because we will always come up short, and all it does is exaggerate all of our insecurities. It's okay to enjoy other people's success, but you let them live their lives, and you live your life. Oh, and by the way, they're curating their social media. That's not really their life. And so you're making decisions based on how you feel, based on their curated things. I know, I've talked to so many millennials. I know somebody who's out of work, really depressed, and yet she goes and does all these things, so she has the appearance of this amazing, successful life. And so now she may be making those decisions based on what her friends, who knows what sort of weird, twisted, exaggerated circle of depression this is forming. So go back to the rules of the infinite game. Your friends are there to admire. Your friends are there to say, God, that I'm so happy for them. What are they doing that I can learn from? I'll give you an example. So we can all fall into this trap. So in my business, authors and speakers and folks like us, we're all comparing ourselves to each other. And sometimes it can get silly and competitive. And sometimes I go on Amazon, I check the rankings of my books to see that I still have a job. And now and then there was this one author, MHM, who I hated for no reason. He's very smart, his work's incredibly good, he's incredibly well respected, I respect him, but I hate him. And I would check the rankings of his books, and when I was ahead I'd be like, yes, and when he was ahead I was like, F right. It would drive me crazy. And I had this weird abstract competition. MHM, same thing, right? Social media happened to be Amazon rankings, right? And I would check in all the time. I'd always check in mine, his nobody else, just mine and his. Anyway, I was at an event and we were interviewed together on the same stage. MHM and the interviewer decided to let us introduce each other. So I went first. I had to introduce him. And this is what I said. I looked at him. And I said, you make me very insecure. I said, because all of your strengths are all of my weaknesses. And every time I see you do well, it just reminds me what I'm bad at. That's how I opened up. He turned to me and he said, funny, I feel the same way about you, and now we love each other because I realized that he's really good at what I'm bad at. So by me getting to know him and really learning to love him, I'm realizing I'm getting better at those things, and I'm taking more pride in the things that I'm good at rather than thinking I have to be good at everything he's good at, right? So that it's healthy to grow our own strength, and rather than be intimidated by the strength of others. The Navy SEALs are one of the highest performing organizations on the planet, and a former Navy SEAL was asked who makes it through BUDS, who makes it through the selection process to become a SEAL. And he said, I can't tell you who gets through, who makes it, but I can tell you the kind of people who don't make it. He said the star college athletes that never have been really tested to the core of their being, none of them make it through. He said the preying leaders who like to delegate everything, none of them make it through. He said the big tough guys that come in with huge muscles covered in tattoos who want to prove everyone how tough they are, none of them make it through. He said some of the guys that make it through are skinny and scrawny. He said some of the guys who make it through, you will see them shivering out of fear. He said, but every single one of them who makes it through, when they're emotionally exhausted, when they're physically exhausted some way, somehow they're able to dig down deep, keep inside themselves to find the energy to help the person next to them. Service, giving to another, having their back, is what makes the highest performing teams in the world, not their strength and not their intelligence. It's their willingness to be there for each other. What vulnerability means is you create an environment in which someone feels safe enough to raise their hand and said, I don't know what I'm doing. You've given me a job and I haven't been trained to do it. I need help. I made a mistake. I screwed something up. I'm scared. I'm worried. All of these things no one would ever admit inside a company because it puts a target on your head in case there's another round. And so we keep it to ourselves. And how can a company ever do well if nobody's ever willing to admit they made a mistake, that's scared, or they don't know what they're doing? And so we've literally created cultures in which every single day everybody comes to work and lies, hides, and fakes. And we're asking our youngest generation to work and succeed and find themselves and build their confidence and overcome their addiction to technology and build strong relationships at work. We're asking to do this, and these are the environments we've created. We keep saying to them, you're the future leaders, we're the leaders now, we're in control. What are we doing? This is what empathy means. It means if there's an entire generation struggling, maybe it's not them, it's like, the only thing that the common factor in all my failed relationships, me, same thing. Well, we just can't get the right performance out of our people. Maybe it's you, right? It's not a generation. It's not them. They're not difficult or hard to understand. They're human beings like the rest of us, trying to find their way, trying to work in a place where they feel that someone cares about them as a human being. By the way, that's what we all want. In other words, it's not even generational, it's all of us. This is the practice of empathy, that if we're struggling to communicate to someone, if we're struggling to help someone be at their natural best, I'm tired of people saying to me, how do I get the best out of my people? Really, that's what you want? They're like a towel. You just wring them. How can I get the most out of them? No, how do I help my people be at their natural best, right? We're not asking these questions. We are not practicing empathy. We have to start by practicing empathy and relate to what they may be going through, and it will profoundly change the decisions we make. It will profoundly change the way we see the world. Someone's driving to work, you're driving to work, and someone wants to cut into your lane. What do? Do you pull your car up? Or do you let them in? Most of us pull our cars up and go like this. You wait your turn. Now let's practice empathy. I don't know, maybe they've been out of work for 6 months. Maybe they had trouble getting the kids out to school this morning, and now they're running late for a really important interview, and they just have to get to this interview, and they're going to cut into our lane. Or maybe they're just a bastard. I don't know, but that's the point. We don't know. And the practice of empathy will say, I'll let them in, and I'll arrive to work 1 car length late, right? We don't always have to be right. We don't always have to be in charge. We don't always have to be the one who succeeds. It's not about winning or losing. Go after the things that you want. Let me tell you a story. So a friend of mine and I, we went for a run in Central Park. The Road Runners organization, on the weekends, they host races, and it's very common at the end of the race, they'll have a sponsor who will give away something, apples or bagels or something. And on this particular day, when we got to the end of the run, There were some free bagels and they had picnic tables set up, and on one side was a group of volunteers. On the table were boxes of bagels, and on the other side was a long line of runners waiting to get their free bagel. So I said to my friend, let's get a bagel, and he looked at me and said, ah, the line's too long, and I said, free bagel, and he said, I don't want to wait in L line, and I was like, free bagel, and he says, nah, it's too long. And that's when I realized that there's two ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. I could only see the bagels, he could only see the line. And so I walked up to the line, I leaned in between two people, put my hand in the box, and pulled out two bagels, and no one got mad at me, because the rule is you can go after whatever you want. You just cannot deny anyone else to go after whatever they want. Now, I had to sacrifice choice. I didn't get to choose which bagel I got whatever I pulled out, but I didn't have to wait in line. So the point is you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do it the way everybody else has done it. You can do it your way. You can break the rules. You just can't get in the way of somebody else getting what they want. I keep meeting these wonderful, fantastic, idealistic, hardworking, smart kids. They've just graduated school. They're in their entry-level job. I sit down with them and I go, how's it going? They go, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months, you know. It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain, and they have this abstract concept called impact that they want to have in the world, which is the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I don't care if you go up the mountain quickly or slowly, but there's still a mountain. And so what this young generation needs to learn is patience, that some things that really, really matter, like love or job, fulfillment, joy, love of life, self, confidence, a skill set, any of these things, all of these things take time. Sometimes you can expedite pieces of it, but the overall journey is arduous and long and difficult. And if you don't ask for help and learn that skill set, you will fall off the mountain, or you will. The worst case scenario, and we're already seeing it, the worst case scenario is we're seeing increase in suicide rates. We're seeing an increase in this generation. We're seeing an increase in accidental deaths due to drug overdoses. We're seeing more and more kids drop out of school or take leaves of absence due to depression. Unheard of. These are all this is really bad. The best case scenario, those are all bad cases, right? The best case scenario is you'll have an entire population growing up and going through life and just never really finding joy. They'll never really find deep fulfillment in work or in life. They'll just walk through life, and it'll be just, it's fine. How's your job? It's fine. The same as yesterday. How's your relationship? It's fine. Like that's the best case scenario. We're taking this amazing group of young fantastic kids who are just dealt a bad hand. It's no fault of their own, and we put them in corporate environments that care more about the numbers than they do about the kids. They care more about the short-term gains than the long-term life of this young human being. We care more about the year than the lifetime, right? And so we are putting them in corporate environments that aren't helping them build their confidence, that aren't helping them learn the skills of cooperation, that aren't helping them overcome the challenges of a digital world, and finding more balance, that isn't helping them overcome the need to have instant gratification, and teach them the joys and impact and the fulfillment you get from working hard on something for a long time that cannot be done in a month or even in a year. When you know that the day that you admit you can't do it, someone will be there and say, I got you, you can do this. That's what gives you the courage to do the difficult thing.